What's going on, everyone? I'm going to get started in a little bit after a couple more people join. But for the time being, I'm here. A video has been brought to my attention. It's been going viral on Twitter. And it is one that is rather concerning. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Candace Owens is a icon at this point. After joining Turning Point USA, she is their head of urban outreach, tasked with the incredibly important job of trying to get young Black Americans and young Latina, Hispanic Americans to vote for Republicans against their self-interest, basically. Her job also is to lie, present false facts, baseless accusations, but most importantly, to make you not take a look at the empirical evidence yourself, but most importantly, to close your eyes to the overwhelming anecdotal evidence. She's able to do this, obviously, because the Democratic Party is also not very great. The modern Democratic Party takes a lot of decisions that are performative in nature. They don't necessarily help improve the lives of minority groups in more meaningful ways. Still marginally better ways than the Republican Party, mind you, but not massively different ways. So, of course, it's an environment where there's a lot of political instability, so it's ripe for grifters like Candace Owens to try to actively change people's minds with misinformation. And this latest video I'm going to be analyzing is a testament to that. I watched it one time over, and this is a thing that I'm trying to do now on Facebook and also on Twitch as well, at twitch.tv/hasanAbi, is like live breakdowns, so you can see my very real reaction. So I might get a little angry. I'm going to try to keep my calm through it, because Candace Owens is unique in the sense that she really upsets me. Especially because her rhetoric is not great. It's not necessarily very intelligent, but I think that's on purpose. I believe Candace is a very intelligent person. However, she purposefully dumbs down her own rhetoric in order to more effectively communicate these ridiculous ideas. So, without further ado, let's get started on that. Okay, so here's the video. Now, the video is titled Police Brutality Myth, in all caps, of course. Candace Owens debunks police brutality myth. It's a Turning Point USA video, and it already has 26,000 retweets, 51,000 likes, 43,000 people who have commented underneath it, 43,000 replies, and it's sitting at about 869,000 views. One of the reasons why I'm talking about this today is because I saw Sean King quote tweet it, saying that there was absolutely zero empirical evidence within this video. He was right. I watched it one time. It's ridiculous. And I also saw old man Ebro retaliate, and then Candace, of course, in her very snarky, sassy way, get back to old man Ebro and say that she had owned him while FaceTiming with Kanye with facts and logic. So let's take a look at this from a completely logical perspective, because I see a lot of ownership in that logical and reasoning realm from the Republicans lately, and a lot of times it's just it's an inaccurate analysis of factual evidence. It's cherry-picked data, and sometimes it's just completely baseless. It's deflective, and this is no different. So let's do it. All right, I've teased it enough, I think. So let's get started.
when I remove the feelings, when I remove myself from this narrative that CNN is trying to sell to us, when I remove myself from the emotional aspects, which, by the way, people ask me the question, how can you...
By the way, as you can see, this is exactly what I was referring to when I mentioned that Republicans no longer want to come across as reactionary as they used to. So they've decided that they are now the factual and reasonable ones. So Candace Owens is a living, breathing testament to that. After all, she's a black woman. So her talking about this means it must be true. So let's keep going. Now, in this one, she's going to be referring to the death of Philando Castile and the police brutality myth.
Say it was okay that Philando Castile died and was shot by a police officer. I would never say that it was okay that Philando Castile died. I would never deny a horrific event. What I'm going to deny is your right to manipulate my emotions because a horrific event happened.
Damn it. This is a little difficult. Okay. So, what Candace is doing here basically is, look, the Philando Castile thing, it's pretty bad, okay? And for those of you who do not remember, Philando Castile was an innocent nurse who got gunned down by Geronimo Yanez, an untrained officer who was scared of Philando Castile's blackness and nothing but that. And basically what Candace is saying here is that she's not mad that Philando's girlfriend and his girlfriend's little girl was in the car as Philando was pumped full of lead, even though he followed protocol. She's not mad that there's unjust system found that officer to be innocent of that extrajudicial killing, basically. She's not mad that the justification for it was that Philando smelled like marijuana. And that if he was, in that split second, the officer thought, if he is this irresponsible to be smelling of marijuana in front of his daughter, then he's probably just irresponsible and he could potentially kill me with this gun that he already is telling me that he has in his possession, as is stated by the law. So this isn't upsetting for Candace, even though she is admitting that it is a horrific event. And that's not the part that offends her the most. That's not the part that makes her angry. The part that makes her angry is the fact that people are showing her this event and using that to emotionally manipulate her somehow. Let's rerun that. Let's run that back. God, my laptop is so slow. Can't wait to get a new one. Okay, play, please. Oh, Jesus Christ. Play the video.
Say that it was okay that Philando Castile died. I would never deny a horrific event. What I'm going to deny is your right to manipulate my emotions because a horrific event happened. For you to be able to control how I vote and how I view the world.
So yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm not mad that Philando Castile died even though his death was tragic. I'm mad that you're trying to manipulate me by showing me this tragic situation, which I just admitted was horrific. I don't know how that logic follows along, but apparently it's enough for a lot of overwhelmingly white Republicans to feel better about themselves. That this young black girl is towing the party line and saying things that make them feel better about themselves. And also, this notion that the media reporting on Black Lives Matter after 2 years of protest to control how you vote is incredibly absurd, because they're reporting on something that's tragic. That's what the media does. They're supposed to give you the information. They're not doing it to support the Democratic Party. The idea that one party justifies this horrific act while the other one, at least performatively, admits is bad is the Republican Party's fault. Stop justifying that these police killings are fine and dandy, and then there wouldn't be some division among political lines on this issue. It's ridiculous. I mean, at least Democratic politicians will performatively say this is bad. They won't push for any accountability for the most part, with the exception of maybe the Department of Justice conducting investigations in all of the problem police departments and finding that almost 90%, like in Baltimore, 90% of the officers there are in some way, shape, or form involved in corruption. But one side is literally saying that, no, this is ridiculous, that all of these deaths are justified. Fucking chill out. You're literally doing that right now, or you're about to do that. So it's not divided along political lines because it's an issue that's Democrat or Republican. It's divided along political lines because the Republican voters and also Republican politicians are the ones that are justifying these horrific acts of police brutality, specifically towards people of color.
Because a horrific event happened. In most circumstances, these events are anomalies. I just sat down to an interview with Mike.com.
In most circumstances, these events are just anomalies. So this is a new deflective strategy that I'm going to be talking about, which is that, listen, this is just a small percentage of the population. Who cares? There's a long history of using that statistical anomaly to make it seem as though this is not a problem that's prevalent in American society, so why should we care? As a matter of fact, that's part of the reason how slavery was justified. Well, this is a small percentage of the population. As a matter of fact, that's how segregation, in some respects, was justified. That is exactly how transphobia is still justified. Certain legislation that hurts sex workers, or certain legislation that hurts women of color, or the trans community, is justified because, oh, there's such a small percentage of the population, who cares? Well, that margin, when looking at it from a statistical analysis perspective, might look like a small number and insignificant, but those are real human lives. And they're doing this statistical analysis to make you forget that they are human lives. This is actively dehumanizing all of those people that have died. But yeah, let's go on with your awesome interview that you did with Mike.com, Candace.
They're here, they're recording this, and the founder gave me a stat. He said, well, 990, black men were shot and killed by police in 2016. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I don't know what the founder of Mike.com said to Candace, but the real number is 960 people, 63 people total. That is not just 963 people that are black. 963 people total were killed in the hands of the police. That includes all communities, okay? Not just black communities. It's really irresponsible that that Candace could just throw out this number without doing her due diligence, even though this is literally her job. Her job is to blurt out statistics and to actively dehumanize a certain subset of the population in an effort to justify police brutality. So at least do the fucking work, girl. God damn it. Anyway, that's besides the point, though. Let's keep going.
But only 16 of them were unarmed.
Imagine 16 innocent people, 16 innocent unarmed people, even before we get back to that previous number, which I will destroy in a second with actual facts. 16 people were killed by a police force that was acting as judge, jury, and executioner in the #1 country in the world, as we like to think. And that's completely fine. 16 black people, by the way. That number is actually black people. 16 black people were unarmed when they were killed in the hands of the police, Philando Castile included. Now, the other problem with the 963 people total is, especially when you compare it to the unarmed, is that it justifies, all of a sudden, anyone who was carrying a weapon in the presence of a police officer. It justifies the death of any single person, whether they're black or white, doesn't matter. I was carrying a weapon in the presence of a police officer's death. That's crazy. Were all of these people responsible? Were all of these people trying to actively kill police officers? Do police officers not have a right? I mean, not a right, sorry. Do police officers shouldn't they try to de-escalate these situations? I mean, it's ridiculous to try to justify killing almost 1,000 American citizens. 1,000 American citizens that are paying your fucking taxes with your mission statement as to protect and serve. What a ridiculous notion. To act as though 1,000 people dying in the hands of the state without a trial, when we believe that everyone should be equal in a court of law, that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. 1,000 state-sponsored executions without a freaking trial is justifiable, all because it overwhelmingly targets people of color. That is the Republican mentality when it comes to justifying police action, when it comes to justifying police brutality. And I can't believe that Candace is promoting this and doing it in such a sloppy fucking way. God. Anyway. Yes, but only 16 of them were unarmed. Okay, play the video. God damn it. Play the fucking video.
A police officer has a right to shoot back to defend himself against somebody that's coming at him with a gun.
The idea that people who had weapons on them are automatically criminals goes against the Second Amendment, which Candace Owens now is a staunch supporter of. Especially in this country where we have a constitutional right to carry. So what does that mean? So if you have a gun and a police officer approaches you and assumes that you're a threat because you have a gun, that you automatically deserve to die? What a ridiculous idea. What a ridiculous idea. And of course, not even a single person in that room is going to sit back and go, well, this seems a little ridiculous, Candace. Because that's the whole point. You just fucking you force feed fake information and then act as though this is just a statistical anomaly. It's not that important. It's not that significant. We shouldn't be talking about it. What we should really be talking about is how the media is manipulating all of this information. When in fact you're doing something much worse than what the media that you're trying to actively vilify does on a daily basis, which is lie and try to re-educate people with misinformation. Anyway, if you want to look at actual statistics, I will give you the actual statistics, okay? And by the way, it's very hard to accurately track extrajudicial killings in the hands of the police because the FBI doesn't necessarily keep track of this, which is fucking mind-boggling. But that is the reality. That is the legislation that was set in place to protect police officers, okay? They don't keep track of this. They don't keep track of the fact that tax-paying citizens are being executed. Just think about that for a second. So all of this information is collected by investigative reporters, journalists, from media sources, and certain criminal statistics that the FBI does put out there. So there's 963 people total that have died in the hands of the police in 2016. Okay? And that's not just black people, that's all people, as I mentioned. 466 of those 900 plus people are white, which means that's 48%. So that's a little less than half, okay? Now white people are 68% of this country. So 234 of the 900 plus number were black. That's 24%. That's black people are 11% of the population, which means that black people are represented Black people are 2 times more likely, at the very least in 2016, to be killed in the hands of the police in that respect. Or not 2 times more likely in regards to white people, but 2 times more likely across the board. White people are underrepresented as far as police murders. Black people are heavily overrepresented. This disparity is at the heart of the reason why black people protest police brutality. They're not when they're protesting police brutality, they're not just protesting police brutality against black people. They're protesting it for everyone. Because racism and classism are the main reasons why police brutality happens to certain communities. But racism compounds on that likelihood that it might happen to you. Because of socioeconomic reasons and because of just pure implicit bias. And also because of training. It's just a very nuanced conversation, and it's very difficult to describe in a 2-minute video, obviously, but you're not trying to solve this problem. You're just actively trying to propagandize, Candace. But let's keep going.
So the stats of how many people died is irrelevant. The fact is,
See, that's what I mean, by the way. This idea that the stats of how many people died is irrelevant is just such a disgusting, immoral statement to make. And the reason why Candace is able to make this statement is because the underlying idea is that, well, a lot of people that were killed in the hands of the police were black, and this is true on both sides, by the way. Like, everyone thinks this. And it's justified more often than not because they were probably being unruly, or they were probably breaking the law, or they were probably being violent and aggressive towards the police officers. We don't look into accountability at all. We don't look into the fact that the legal system essentially protects police officers in all of these instances. Not only does the legal system protect them, but police unions actively work to put these offenders, these violent murderers, back into other precincts, so they can go back and kill other people. And this happens so frequently, and it's ridiculous. Like, we can't even have a conversation that is even relatively productive in regards to this issue, because one side is just completely out of their minds. On the one end, they're trying to justify all of these murders, without talking about the white murders at all, mind you. And that's another thing that I talk about frequently, which is Daniel Shaver, the young white guy in Mesa, Arizona, who was gunned down in a hotel room, in a hotel hallway, begging for his life, on his hands and knees, gunned down by this rogue police officer who's just fucking out of his mind, screaming these insane protocols for him to follow that even a sober person wouldn't be able to follow, and then gunning him down with his own personal gun, not his service weapon, but his own personal AR-15 that said, I think, get fucked on the side. It had get fucked ingrained on the side. You know who was protesting that death, that white death? None of the All Lives Matter folk were. The Black Lives Matter folk were protesting that death, because they understand that police brutality affects all Americans, not just black Americans, white Americans as well. More white people are killed in the hands of the police. But racism makes it more likely for a black person to be brutalized or to be murdered in the hands of the police.
Is how many unarmed black men were shot and killed by police officers in 2016? The answer is 16.
How? I can't believe you're trying this hard to minimize the impact of this oppressive force that is militarized to the fucking teeth now, that has led to that has killed not more than 9,000 people since 9/11. More than 9,000 Americans died in the hands of the police since 9/11. And this force, this occupying force, basically, in most communities, are getting away with all of that, and you're sitting here justifying it. It doesn't matter if you're a black woman or a white woman or Asian or Caucasian. It doesn't matter. Like, the fact that you're justifying this or trying to justify this and then turning around and saying, only 16 people died. It happens. What a ridiculously immoral position to take. Do you look at yourself? Have you ever sat back and thought, wow, this is kind of fucked up that I'm doing this. I mean, I'm making a lot of money, but holy shit, it's kind of messed up that I am literally going out there and spreading this false propaganda written by a bunch of white dipshits at a think tank, and propagating this in an effort to justify state-sponsored executions. Man, this idea, again, like I said, that Republicans care about the Constitution is also absolutely ridiculous, because, as you can see, 900 people died in the hands of the police, but only 16 of them were black and unarmed. So it's, of course, okay for all of the 900 other people that have died in the hands of the police because they were carrying. Doesn't matter. They didn't have to point the gun at police officers. They were just carrying. So that's it. You deserve to die. Ridiculous.
That is 0.00004% of the black community. And we saw it every single night. You would think that police officers were just gunning down people based on the amount of melanin in their skin. The media was able to make...
So, again, like I said, greatly exaggerating the media impact there. It's criticizing this issue that is is hurting the black community, and then saying that it's more likely to be killed by a lightning strike, right? And this statistic is important because, again, like, a lightning is a natural cause. It's a natural thing that happens to people, and it sucks. You can prevent lightning strikes in some ways, I guess. You can take accountability for that, but the state killing people is different than all of that. We can stop human beings from gunning down other human fucking beings. Like, this is not a natural disaster. These are untrained officers with a lot of implicit bias, with a hierarchical problem that is that's promoting these sort of deaths as justifiable from within the institutions, and the justice system is protecting these officers that are bad. Like, this is a completely fixable problem. What a ridiculous thing. What a ridiculously defeatist attitude to assume that we cannot solve this issue. And to do it just to justify killing more black people than white people is also incredibly counterproductive and insane to me. But let's keep going. Let's finish this bullshit. People believe
that this was something that was real. That this was a
this is not a real threat to the black community.
Real threat that was posed to the black community, when in reality, you have a higher chance of getting struck by lightning than by being gunned down unarmed by a police officer.
See, like I said, remember? Gunned down unarmed by a police officer.
We launched a war on police officers. And
then, by the way, okay, so here's where this also completely turns into a... It was already non-factual, but this takes a completely... At least she was trying to be performatively empirical before, when stating facts and how small that percentage is, and that number is obviously incorrect, but it doesn't matter because no one's going to fucking fact check her for some reason, or even if we do fact check her like I am right now, it doesn't matter because all of those people in that room and the 26,000 people that retweeted this video don't give a shit because it justifies their racist justifies their racist perspective. But then to turn around and then behave as though what she's saying right now is factually correct. We launched a war on police officers
in an effort to control the black vote.
We launched a war on police officers in an effort to control the black vote. First of all, there are black police officers as well. I've talked to many of them. Some of them think that the BLM movement is bad, but a lot of police officers, especially black police officers, don't think that the BLM movement is bad at all. That genuinely think that there are horrific racist pieces of shit in the police force that shouldn't be in the police force. I mean, after all, the Department of Defense, don't ask me, the Department of Defense concluded that there are, not the Department of Defense, sorry. I think it was an FBI investigation that concluded that there are literal white supremacists inside of police forces. But that's like a smaller percentage of the larger problem. The larger problem that there is no accountability for the police force when they kill people. And for the longest time, even filming them was considered a problem. James Comey literally came out, all that fucking resistance, #resistance hero, James Comey came out and said that body cams were a threat to police security. Because it showed misconduct. And that it would then turn public opinion against police officers. What a ridiculous notion. What a ridiculous fucking idea that body cams are responsible for all of the violence conducted coming from at a disproportionate rate from the side of the police. Here's a solution. Stop fucking killing people, dude. Like, so ridiculous. And not just stop killing black people, stop killing white people. Stop killing Muslims. Like, I can't believe that this is even a political, this is a divisive issue that is divided among political lines. There was a time in this country when libertarians and Republicans also were fearful, or at least critical of the police whenever they did something wrong. But now we are so divided on racial lines that we justify police killing both white people and black people, because at least they're killing the black people that we think may or may not have deserved it, as an oppressive force on black communities that we are terrified of. This war on police officers, What fucking war is happening on police officers? Yeah, sure, the Dallas thing was terrible. The sniper fire that took during the BLM protest in Dallas, the sniper rifle, the guy that killed 5 police officers. That's fucking awful. But that was the last time there was a war. If there's a war, it's disproportionate. It's the police fucking gunning down whoever the fuck they want and getting away with it still to this day. So the police are winning that war if there is a war. And this idea that someone out there is trying to control the black vote on this issue is ridiculous. Stop trying to criticize the media and then criticize those fucking same Republicans then. If you don't want this issue to be a political one, then tell your Republican mega donors to change their perspective and to change their messaging strategy on police brutality. There you go. And then maybe you can have some other, maybe you can have some more black people who aren't really fully aware of the implications of redlining or systemic racism come on to the Republican side then. But I would suggest that if Republicans want to win more of the black vote, they should probably stop being super fucking racist. Like, man, it's madness, dude. It's freaking madness. Like, the idea that police brutality is an issue across political borders, even though it's an issue that impacts everyone, is just so crazy. I don't know.
That's the facts.
Yeah, that's the facts.
War on police officers in an effort to control.
Like, why are you assuming that black people can't make up their own goddamn minds? Like, yeah, sure, there's definitely pandering to the black community from the Democratic Party. Pandering that is at least performative in nature, that doesn't actually pan out as far as legislation. For example, there are still thousands of young black and women incarcerated for minor possession of marijuana, where white marijuana moms are out there dancing in Portland and doing fucking morning news shows talking about how great it is to smoke weed. That's, at least the least Democrats could do is take legislative action against that. But no, they're not doing it either. But at least they're performatively acting like they care about it. Whereas the Republican Party's like, nope, they deserve it. Like, what do you want people to do? Completely avoid the mountain of anecdotal evidence that they see every single day, that Republican voters and also the Republican Party in general is extremely hostile in their messaging towards minorities, towards people of color? Do you think they'll forget that because it's just a young, pretty black woman spouting these facts that you would normally hear from horrific, racist pieces of shit? Ridiculous. Ridiculous, because the underlying assumption is that people are that stupid and that they will listen to you and they will listen to Kanye and they will not make up their own minds, but they'll be brainwashed by your bullshit. I hope not. Let me tell you what people are mad at, okay? People are mad at police killings. And I'm going to change this now because I'm done with this shit. Okay. Candace and other Republicans who are missing the point. Let me tell you what people are actually mad at, okay? People are mad at police killings. People are mad that there's no accountability. People are mad that Stephon Clark gets gunned down in his own grandmother's backyard for the crime of holding up an iPhone, but armed white supremacist terrorists are peacefully arrested right after they committed atrocious mass murders. This is the clear demonstration that the police can make arrests without beating the shit out of someone or by just straight up killing them on the spot. Most importantly, people are mad that we can't even talk about this without tremendous scrutiny. People are mad because when black athletes try to speak out against this, because their communities are impacted by this, they lose their jobs. If they don't lose their jobs, they get penalized. They get called stupid, ignorant, just hurtful words. They get called ungrateful. 80% of the NFL is black, and yet all of the white owners are white, of course, and the rules and regulations set in place are put together by the owners, and they have decided that they'll listen to the president, who's been actively railing against this and made this issue his signature problem. People are mad that when black athletes kneel to protest police brutality, the conversation gets sidetracked to black people are ungrateful and they hate this country. How ridiculous that we can't even get you to fucking pay attention to what is going on. An issue that impacts white people as well. Maybe not as high at high rates, but in high numbers, in higher numbers than it impacts black people. But you won't pay attention to it because those are the poor whites that are being killed, and those are most of the blacks that are being killed, and that's fine because you don't want to hurt your, we don't want to upend the status quo in any meaningful way because you're terrified. Because what would happen if a criminal black person came to your house? How would you defend yourself? You'd have to call the police. You'd have to hope that the police would come and handle that problem, right? That's precisely why. It's this underlying notion that a lot of people who are wealthy or very privileged or white that want to maintain this facade of supremacy. And they'll use the police force to get there. That's why you see a lot of people calling black people on for meaningless things now. See the news every day. Barbecue Betty, Permit Patty, the fucking CVS Coupon Carl, whatever. There's just so many different examples of this. The only reason why we're talking about this is because these are really prevalent issues that happen on a day-to-day basis. But the reason why we're talking about it is because people are finally becoming more aware that these issues exist. So instead of acknowledging that there's a problem and trying to solve that problem, Candace Owens decides there is no problem at all as long as I'm getting paid. As long as I can be a part of that privileged class as well. Because the white Republican mega donors of the GOP are filling my coffers now too. So it doesn't matter. I will side with the people that have actively, for centuries, dehumanized me, with the conservatives that don't care about me. None of that matters. As long as I'm making money. Anyway, that is all for now. I'm actually going to turn on my PlayStation now and play a little bit of Twitch. I play a little bit of Fortnite on Twitch at twitch.tv/hasanAbi. I would love for you guys to join me because there's a bunch of other things that I'm going to be talking about on Twitch. For example, one of the issues I'll be discussing on Twitch will be Ninja not playing with women. This was a big deal in the gaming community, and it's like kind of reigniting those Gamergate fears and gender discrimination within gaming. It's a hot button topic that I will be discussing later. So I'm going to go do that right now. I'm going to go turn on my PlayStation and come join me at twitch.tv/hasanAbi. All right? And thank you for joining, guys. Peace.